The story begins as we meet an adventurer named Oren, who is skilled with both using a sword and with magic, but it's the reason that he gets kicked out of the heroes' party. Their leader Oliver explains that he's given Oren plenty of chances to improve since they're childhood friends, but he still isn't strong enough to fight by their side. We learn that he and Oliver formed the party 8 years ago, and they were the first to reach the 94th floor in the Southern Great Dungeon, so everyone started calling them the Heroes Party. Oliver explains that it's important to have an enchanter in their party, and during the last raid, where there were other enchanters, they realized that Oren is nothing compared to other S-rank enchanters. He explains that he's supposed to be a swordsman, but since their party needed an enchanter, he was forced to convert since he had the most aptitude for it. He explains that he even invented his own kind of magic to make up for his weakness, but Oliver tells him they already found a replacement, so he realizes that they've made up their minds. He thanks them for everything, but the mage Nell tells him he's annoying since he always told them what to do, calling him a jack of all trades since he can do a lot of things, but only at an A rank level. Back in the present, we see Oren as he uses buffs to enhance his strength, and he cuts down a group of goblins, glad that he hasn't lost his touch as a swordsman. Even though his buffs are temporary, we learn that he has come up with a new fighting style by combining his skills as an enchanter and a swordsman so that nobody will call him a jack of all trades again. He registers with the teleportation crystal on the floor so that he can start from there the next time he visits the dungeon, but he suddenly sees a group of adventurers running away. They discuss how they left a girl behind since they were no match for the orcs, and their leader thinks they should just let her die, telling everyone her life doesn't matter since she just joined their party. But Oren becomes upset hearing this, since he knows what it's like to be abandoned by his party, and he scolds them for leaving the girl behind. One of them explains that they aren't strong enough to save her, and he tries to hit Oren, who easily knocks him down, and asks the others where he can find the girl. We see the girl surrounded by a horde of orcs, and she summons a barrier to protect herself, but they all hit it until it shatters. She thinks it's all over for her, but Oren suddenly uses his wind magic to blow them away, and he charges at them head-on. She's surprised to see a swordsman using support spells while fighting, and as he slices through the orcs, she wonders if he's a swordsman or an enchanter. He uses his magic to sharpen his sword, and continues to cut down the orcs, as she realizes that his skills are amazing. After he defeats all of them, he asks her if she's okay, and she cries as she realizes that she almost died. He helps her escape the dungeon and bids her farewell, but she tells him she wants to thank him properly, and introduces herself as Sophia Claudel. He recognizes her last name, and thinks the crest on her clothes looks familiar, but she invites him to have dinner with her, since she wants to show him how grateful she is. She takes him to a restaurant, and he sees the crest on a sign, which makes him realize that she's from the Night Sky Silver Rabbits. He knows that it's one of the biggest guilds in the kingdom, and he meets her sister Selma, who immediately recognizes him. He tells her they haven't met for a while, and Sophia wonders how he knows her, so he explains that Selma is famous since she's the most powerful enchanter on the continent. She came up with the idea of having party members take on different roles, which is why the attackers and defenders are now working together to fight monsters, while the supporters help them from behind. The Heroes Party also adapted her idea, so Oren was forced to become an enchanter, but after seeing her outperform him during the last raid, they decided to get rid of him. Selma wonders if he's going after her 14-year-old sister, so he explains he isn't like Diddy, saying it was just a dinner. But Selma becomes upset hearing this, since she thinks he's telling her that Sophia isn't good enough for him. She tells Selma to be nice to him since he saved her life, and admits that she went to the dungeon alone, so Selma scolds her for leaving without permission. She tells her not to do it again, and apologizes for being rude to Oren, so he tells her it's okay, and they eat together. They talk about their last raid, and Sophia wonders why Selma seems to know a lot about him, so she explains that he's popular since he's a member of the Heroes Party. Sophia becomes flustered hearing this, but he reveals that he's no longer a hero, since he already left the party. Selma wonders why they let him go, so he tells her they had their reasons, and she realizes that he's a free agent. He thinks she's about to invite him to join the Silver Rabbits, so he tells her he wants to be alone for a while, but she notes that he got the wrong idea, and reveals that she has the perfect job for him. She wants him to join their guild for tomorrow's teaching expedition, and notes that a group of A ranks will lead the recruits, as they spend 3 days going 50 floors down the Great Dungeon. He mentions that even the best adventurers take at least 6 months to go down 50 floors, but she explains that it's possible to do it in 3 days, as long as they take the shortest route. He still thinks their schedule is insane, so she admits that it's true, but their sponsors insist that they stick to it. He thinks the goal of the expedition is to get the recruits past the bosses, which spawn every 10 floors, and he knows that the guild will get stronger if the newbies can explore deeper levels alone. She's impressed by how smart he is, since it's exactly what the guild wants, and she explains that newbies usually die fighting bosses, which is why the guild sent A rankers with them. She notes that the goal is for the newbies to register with the teleportation crystals on the deeper floors, but Orin wonders if it's okay for him to participate, since the mission is important for the guild. She tells him she respects him as an enchanter, which makes him happy, but he wonders why she said that, since he knows that his magic is nothing compared to hers. He doesn't want to go back to being an enchanter, so he tells her he has other plans, and Sophia tries to convince him to join them, but he notes that he needs time to think about it. He explains that he has converted, so he'll only join the expedition as a swordsman, which surprises Selma. But she notes that it's okay, since she thinks he'll return to being an enchanter if things get rough, and she tells him to report to the guild's HQ tomorrow if he wants to join them. After that, Orin talks to an old man, who thanks him for advertising his store, but Orin tells him he can't continue doing it, since he's no longer a member of the heroes party. He thinks nobody will listen to him now that he isn't a hero, but the old man tells him it doesn't matter, and notes that he'll always be grateful to him. Orin believes that he has become irrelevant, but the old man tells Orin that things are just getting started, and he should just do what he thinks is best. The next day, Orin heads to the Silver Rabbit's HQ, and Selma is glad that he has decided to join them. He meets the leader of the guild named Vince, and asks him about the teaching expedition, so he notes that he'll have Selma explain everything. We learn that before Orin arrived, Selma told Vince that Orin had left the heroes party, and he thinks they won't be as strong without him. She tells Vince he's right, since she knows that Orin's support magic helped them become the strongest. She notes that his spells aren't that powerful, but his casting speed is incredible, and he was using original spells while analyzing the situation. She thinks he has all the skills an enchanter needs, and now that he's no longer in the heroes party, she believes that the Silver Rabbits can reclaim the top spot. Vince can't believe they let him go, and she explains that it's because enchanters don't usually get the credit they deserve, but she knows that Orin is powerful. Back in the present, Selma tells Orin about their plan to reach floor 51 in 3 days, and he learns that there are 10 parties of rookies and 5 escorts. The rookies will deal with the monsters, while the escorts will protect them if something goes wrong, but Orin wonders why there are only 5 escorts, since he thinks they need more to support the newbies. Selma explains that the rookies need extra stress to help them grow, but he knows that it isn't the real reason, and they aren't telling him the truth since he's an outsider. He still decides to help them, so Vince tells him he'll receive 2 gold pieces in advance, and another 10 if the mission is successful. He thinks it's a lot, since it's a year's worth of living expenses, so Selma explains that it's because they know how valuable he is. After that, Orin heads to the entrance of the dungeon, where he meets the other members of the expedition, and he realizes that Sophia is going as well. He tells her she looks good in her uniform, which causes her to blush, but Selma asks him if he has a girlfriend, since he seems to know how to flatter a lady. So he explains that he doesn't, but he knows how to talk to girls since there were girls in the heroes party, and she recalls that they all lived in the same mansion. Sophia wonders where he's currently staying, so he reveals that he's sleeping at an inn, but he's looking for a place to call home. Selma wonders why Sophia asked him that question, wondering if she's planning to visit him, but she explains that she was just curious. Selma realizes that the others look tense, so she asks for Orin's help to loosen them up, and she tells Sophia to find her party. She takes him to the other escorts, and notes that they can trust him since he's strong, but he tells her not to raise their expectations for him. He introduces himself as a frontline attacker, and 2 of them named Anthem and Bernard reveal that they're defenders. The girl named Kathy reveals that she's a healer, and with Selma as the enchanter, Orin thinks their party is balanced. But he wonders who would have taken his place as the attacker if he didn't join them, and we learn that the guild lost their ace recently, so Selma wanted Orin to replace them. But Vince was against it, since Orin is an enchanter just like her, so their party wouldn't be balanced. She thinks he's their only hope, since they haven't made progress in a year, but she wonders if he would perform well as their attacker. She takes him to the rookies and tells them they'll make it to the 51st floor because Oren is with them. She reveals that he was with the heroes party when they reached the 94th floor, so he knows the dungeon better than any of them, and everyone's amazed hearing this. They're confident that he'll lead them to the 51st floor, and she tells them to get ready, since they're about to enter the dungeon. He tells her not to play it up, but she notes that she just told them the truth, and explains that it's their job to make sure the rookies can relax and focus on the dungeon. We learn that he just wants the title of hero to help the old man shop, but he's worried that his reputation might be ruined, and Selma tells him to escort Group 10. She notes that they're the most promising rookies, and thinks they can make it to the middle floors if they learn to work as a party, so she wants him to train them. He greets everyone in the group, and realizes that Sophia is one of them, but he wonders why there are only 3 of them. Their leader Logan tells him it's because the others can't keep up with them, but Oren is worried about his future, since he appears to be arrogant. He reveals that he's an enchanter, and thinks he'll surpass Selma in the future, while their defender Carol explains that she doesn't need a shield or a suit of armor, since the monsters won't be able to hit her. Oren realizes that she plans to avoid all of the monsters' attacks, but he tells her it's hard to be a dodge-type defender, and Logan notes that their teachers warned her about it, but she just ignored them. Sophia reveals that she's a rear attacker, and Oren is glad that there's someone normal in their group, but he thinks the mission will be difficult, since 2 of them seem to have issues. They start behaving as they enter the dungeon, and Carol wonders why Oren left the heroes party, but he tells her it's none of her business. She reveals that Sophia told them an amazing person will be joining them, and she asks Sophia if she was referring to him, so she tells everyone how he saved her life. So Carol realizes he's a hero, and he wonders if she opened up the topic to calm Sophia down, thinking she's more considerate than she looks. We see 2 wolves running towards them, but Oren impales them with his trap, and thinks it's the best way to get rid of monsters trying to chase them, since they don't have time to waste on useless battles. They reach the 20th floor, and Oren realizes that Logan is actually a genius enchanter, but he needs more experience, since he's terrible at giving orders. He notices that Carol can fulfill her role since she has decent speed, but her fighting style is reckless, and he thinks she needs more reliable weapons. Sophia isn't as impressive as her companions, but she's already stronger than a rookie, and he knows that she'll continue to improve as an adventurer. They defeat the boss on the 20th floor, and Selma tells everyone to head to the next level and register their guild cards, so that they can call it a day. After that, Oren tells Selma that everyone in Group 10 has potential, but they aren't working as a party, and he's worried that Carol might get herself killed. But Selma notes that she has improved a lot, so he wonders what kind of person she was in the past. Oren returns to the inn, where he realizes that the heroes party is on the front page of the newspaper, and it mentions that they now have a new enchanter. He thinks everyone will learn that he has been kicked out, and he can't imagine how the rookies will react to it, thinking it will change their opinion of him. The next day, Oren makes his way to the meeting point, but he's surprised to see his friend Lena, who notes that she hasn't seen him in a long time. We learn that she's also a member of the heroes party, and he recalls that she was always nice to him, even though the other members didn't treat him well when he was about to be banished. He asks her what she needs, so she tells him to come back to the party, but he thinks the other members don't want him back, and he tells her about the article in the newspaper. She admits that she's asking on her own, but promises to persuade the others to welcome him back, since she thinks they need his strength. He realizes that she's serious about bringing him back, but he tells her he doesn't want to return to the party, and she reminds him about their promise to clear the Great Dungeon together. He becomes emotional hearing this, but notes that they made that promise with Oliver, who kicked him out of the party, so it's never going to happen. He walks away, as he thinks about how he still wants the 3 of them to fulfill that promise together, but he knows that it's too late, since there's no longer a place for him in the heroes party. He recalls how the article mentioned that he was banished from the heroes party since he's weak, and as he reaches the meeting point, he realizes that everyone's talking about him. He greets the rookies, but notices that they're different from yesterday, and Selma apologizes for using him to inspire them, since she didn't know that he was kicked out of the heroes party. He promises to back everyone up, and the other escorts still think he's amazing, since he made it to the 94th floor. He talks to the members of Group 10 about the news article, and the girls think it's full of lies, but Logan asks him if it's true. So he admits that he was kicked out since he's weak, and he's not the hero everyone expects right now, but Sophia knows that he's strong, because he defeated the horde of orcs in an instant. He explains that he's strong enough to take everyone to floor 51 and notes that he may not be a hero anymore, but he still promises to protect them. The girls trust him, but Logan starts to question his strength and thinks he's an idiot for getting excited yesterday. They return to the dungeon, and Oren knows that their goal is to go from floor 21 to 35, but he's supposed to let the recruits take the lead until they reach floor 31. Sophia and Carol take out the monsters in their path, and when they reach the 31st floor, they encounter a group of goblins, so Oren gives everyone orders. Logan buffs the girls, and Carol cuts down the goblins, but Sophia panics as she sees an orc, since she has emotional damage from when she was attacked. It starts walking towards her, and Logan wonders why Oren isn't doing anything, thinking it's because he isn't reliable. But he suddenly uses his debuff spell to slow the orc down, and tells Sophia to calm down, since she isn't fighting alone. She uses her fire javelin to take down the orc, which impresses Oren, since he didn't know that she could use advanced magic, and he praises her for pulling it off. They reach the 35th floor, where they see a giant spider, and Logan thinks they aren't strong enough to defeat it, but Oren gives him the usual orders to buff the others. Carol charges in and slashes its back, but Oren tells her to be careful since it's venomous, and she manages to dodge its attacks. As she keeps the spider distracted, Sophia uses her wind cutter to slice its legs, and Carol starts to celebrate. But Oren tells her it isn't over yet, and orders Logan to buff her strength and technical skill as the spider grabs her with its web. Oren notes that she should be strong enough to cut its web, and Logan realizes that he predicted everything, but she still struggles to get free. Oren orders Sophia to prepare a rock arrow, and tells Logan that her magic up is about to wear off, so he needs to buff her again. Oren realizes that Logan can only use 3 spells at once, so he decides to use his support magic to improve the sharpness of Carol's knives, allowing her to break free. Sophia summons a rock arrow, and uses it to crush the spider, so the girls celebrate their victory. Oren tells Logan they won thanks to his support magic, and he thanks Oren for watching over them, but he notes that it's time to head back. After they leave the dungeon, Selma praises everyone for doing a good job, and reminds them that tomorrow is their last day, so they need to rest and be ready for it. Anthem and Bernard invite Oren to have dinner with them, and he realizes that they aren't bothered by the news, so he decides to join them. We see Logan with the girls in a carriage, and he asks Sophia about the time Oren saved her, so she tells him about the wind blast and support magic he used to defeat the orcs. Logan knows that he used Sharpness Up, which is the same move he used to help Carol break free, but Logan wonders if he was wielding a sword, since the spell can only be applied to weapons. So Sophia explains that he used a sword to cut the orcs down, and notes that he converted to being an attacker after he left the hero's party, which impresses Logan. He thinks it doesn't make sense, since Oren seems like the perfect enchanter, and he recalls how his orders were always on point. He thinks about the spell Oren used on the orc, and he knows that it's a debuff, which is so difficult to pull off that even Selma rarely uses it, but Oren was able to use it easily. Logan recalls their battle with the spider, and he thinks their formation was perfect, since Oren told them what to do. Logan knows that he predicted the spider's last attack, since he was analyzing the situation while everyone was fighting, so Logan realizes that he's brilliant. He wonders why Oren converted to being an attacker, and Sophia tells him how he instantly wiped out the orcs, so Logan realizes that he's also a skilled swordsman. He realizes that he was wrong about him, since he thought Oren was trash after he read the news article, but he's actually a genius who can do anything. That evening, Oren has dinner with Anthem and Bernard, who tell him they'll pay for the food, and they ask him about his time with the hero's party. So he tells them he didn't have time to have fun since he was always busy, and they think the news article is ridiculous, so they want him to forget about it. They ask him why he converted to being an attacker, so he explains that he used to be a swordsman in the hero's party, and notes that he always wanted to wield a sword since he was a kid. He reveals that he was inspired by his grandfather, who took down a monster that attacked the village, but they wonder why he ended up becoming an enchanter. So he explains that they struggled to make progress in the deeper floors, since the monsters were a lot stronger, and they realized that they needed an enchanter in their party. He was the one with the highest aptitude for it, so he was chosen for the role, and Anthem thinks they made the right move, since they were able to reach the 94th floor. But Oren thinks they messed up, so Anthem and Bernard ask him what he means, but he apologizes for saying too much, and thinks the hero's party will never get past the 94th floor. Bernard asks him about his ideal swordsman, so he explains that it's a jack of all trades who could go through the deeper floors alone, saying it's the kind of adventurer he wants to be. We see Sophia and Carol taking a bath, and Carol reminds her that tomorrow is the last day of their expedition, so she needs to say goodbye to Oren, but she wants him to stay with their guild, so she thinks about inviting him to join them. Oren meets his group in the morning, and they all know it's their last day, but Carol tells him to reward them if they reach the 51st floor. She notes that Sophia wants something from him, and she prepares to tell him to join their guild, but Selma suddenly calls him. He hears newbies talking about the heroes party, and learns that they plan to explore the deepest level of the dungeon with their new enchanter, but he thinks they should start on the higher floors to work on their teamwork. We see the heroes party on the 92nd floor, and Oliver thinks they'll finally clear the dungeon, since they now have a talented enchanter named Philly. We learn that 2 days ago, Oliver introduced her to the others, and Nell and Derek think she's better than Oren. But Luna suddenly joins them, and asks them why he's with the Silver Rabbits, so Derek tells her it's because they kicked him out. She becomes upset hearing this, and notes that she doesn't want anyone to take his place, since she knows that he's the core of their party. She notes that they only made it to the 94th floor because of him, but Nell thinks she's overestimating him, and tells her there's nothing she can do, since they already threw him out. Oliver explains that they'll practice their teamwork on the 92nd floor, since it's Philly's first time working with them, but Luna thinks they should start with the easier floors. She explains that they can't defeat the Black Dragon on the 92nd floor, but the others don't believe her, since they think they're stronger without Oren. Oliver notes that they won't fight the dragon, since they'll just practice their teamwork on the other monsters, but she still thinks it's too risky to go without Oren. We return to the present, as the heroes' party struggles to defeat a monster, since their buffs keep wearing off, and Philly explains that she still isn't used to working with them. Derek gets pushed back as he blocks a blast of energy, and it almost hits Nell, so she asks him what's wrong with him. We learn that blocking the attack used to be easy for him, and she summons her fire bullets to burn the monster, but it has no effect, so Oliver orders Philly to buff her. She summons her fire bullets again, but the monster shrugs them off, and Oliver wonders why they're struggling, since Philly's support magic should be better than Oren's. Nell tries to flank the monster, but she panics as it blasts her with its laser beams, and Oliver orders Philly to warn them when the monster is about to attack. She explains that she's too busy casting support magic, and Oliver wonders why they aren't as strong as they used to be, so Luna prepares to tell them the reason. But the Black Dragon suddenly appears, and he wonders what it's doing there, since it isn't supposed to leave the boss area. It crushes the monster to death, and Luna tells everyone to escape, since she knows they're no match for it, but Oliver thinks they can take it on, reminding her that they've defeated it before. He orders everyone to attack, but the dragon launches a fireball, which knocks Derek down, and Oliver realizes that Philly didn't buff him, since she froze when she saw the dragon. Nell summons her fire javelin, but it doesn't do any damage, and the dragon blasts her as well. It prepares to breathe fire, and Luna tells Oliver to buy time for them to escape, so he orders Philly to buff him. He uses his magical convergence to gather energy, and attacks the dragon with his ultimate move, but it easily overpowers him. He falls into despair, so Luna tells him to get a hold of himself, and notes that they should use their magic item Fickle Gate to escape. Philly is against it, since she knows that it will take them to a random boss area, but Luna explains it's the only way for them to get away from the dragon. Oliver decides to go with her plan, and uses the Fickle Gate to create a portal, but the dragon stops them with its flames, and ends up going through the portal. Derek is glad that everyone survived, but they realize that the dragon has moved to another boss area, and Luna notes that they should report it to the guild, so that they can force teleport everyone out of the dungeon. Oliver knows that their party will receive a penalty, but he thinks it's better than letting the dragon kill other adventurers, and as Luna heals the others, she tells Oliver they need Oren to defeat the dragon. She notes that their stats didn't change, but they got weaker since Oren isn't with them, and Philly explains that her buffs don't even last 2 minutes since they have high magic resistance. Oliver still thinks she's better than Oren, but Luna explains that the reason they did well as a party was because he used original magic to support them. She finishes healing her friends, and as they run to the exit, she notes that Oren created a spell that increases potency by over 50 times, which is why they were so powerful while he was with them. Everyone thinks it's insane, because even Selma admitted that she can only increase potency by up to 10 times, and Luna explains that Oliver could have hurt the dragon if he just spent more time gathering energy. She adds that Nell overestimated her abilities, so she didn't even bother to use advanced magic, and we learn that his buffs also work on equipment, which is why Derek struggled to block the monster's attacks. They realize they made a mistake by kicking him out of the party, and everyone praises them as they leave the dungeon, thinking they must be doing well with their new enchanter. Oliver thinks they have no right to be called heroes, since everyone's in trouble because of them, and he still can't believe that Orin carried them all along. We see Orin as he reminds Group 10 that their goal is to reach floor 51, and Carol is excited to slaughter the monsters, but he tells her to focus on protecting her allies since she's a defender. Logan notes that a famous adventurer named Albert mentioned that working together is important, and Orin knows that he was the ace of the Silver Rabbits, but he died fighting the Black Dragon. Carol thinks a defender failed to protect him, and believes that the best way to defend people is by keeping them far from the front lines. Orin can tell that she's serious, so he makes no comment and tells her they're counting on her. They reach the 36th floor, where Selma tells Orin to look after Group 10, since she thinks they have a bright future ahead of them. She knows that they talked about Albert, so she reveals that they used to be the top guild, but the heroes' party overtook them after they lost him. She thinks Orin might be able to replace him, but he explains that their guild doesn't need 2 enchanters, and reminds her that she's the best on the continent. They reach the 40th floor, where Selma tells everyone to split up, and Orin tells Group 10 about how the adventurers make maps of the dungeon floors to help their clanmates find the right path. Carol thinks he knows a lot about the dungeon since he's been to the deeper floors, and her friends ask him about the monsters he fought. They see a goblin, but Carol immediately charges in, and it prepares to hit her, so Orin uses his debuff spell to slow it down. She kills it in one hit, but Logan tells her she would have died if it weren't for Orin, and she realizes that they were worried about her, so she apologizes for being reckless. Orin tells her about a technique called active defense, where the defender strikes the opponent's vital points to stop their attacks, but he notes that the goal isn't to defeat them, since her job is to protect her teammates. Logan wants to learn how to use debuffs, but Orin explains that it doesn't work on powerful monsters, and notes that Logan needs to learn about the target's exact magic resistance before he uses it. He knows he isn't ready for it, so Orin tells him to focus on mastering his buffs for now, and he shows everyone his trap magic, explaining that he's been using it the whole time so that they can focus on the enemies in front of them. He tells Sophia about the parallel construction technique, which allows a mage to construct several spells at once, and she thinks it's difficult to pull off, but he tells her it's easy once she gets the hang of it. He notes that the monsters on the deeper floors can't be defeated with a single spell, so the advanced adventurers use parallel construction to immediately follow up with another spell. He tells her to ask Selma to teach her the technique, but she mentions that she wants to learn it from him instead, so he notes that they need to ask for Selma's permission first. The heroes' party reaches the Adventurers Guild, where they talk to the guildmaster, and Luna tells him to use force teleport, but he explains that they saved it for emergencies, since it uses a lot of mana. She notes that the Black Dragon moved to another floor, since it flew through the Fickle Gate, and she's worried that adventurers could get killed, so they need to teleport everyone out of the dungeon. The mages prepare to cast their teleportation spell, but one of them tells Oliver to take responsibility for what happened, and they all think the heroes' party is pathetic for allowing the dragon to escape. They tell the guildmaster the spell is almost ready, so he orders them to use it as soon as possible, and notes that he wants the heroes' party to defeat the dragon. Nell and Derek know they can't defeat it, but Luna tells them they'll take care of it, and notes that she wants to make a request. We return to Selma, as she tells the newbies to stay in the safe zone and wait for the escorts to defeat the boss. The newbies watch them from afar, and the boss prepares to attack, but Orin rushes forward and cuts its leg. Selma uses parallel construction to cast 5 spells at once, and Bernard blocks the boss's attack, while Anthem finishes it off. We see the heroes' party as they rush back to the dungeon, and Oliver wonders why Luna told the guildmaster to prioritize the adventurers between floors 40 and 50. So she explains that it's because Orin is probably down there, and notes that they're currently the weakest S-rank party without him. Derek is angry hearing this, but she explains that they need him to clean up their mess, since they can't defeat the dragon without him. The escorts prepare to fight the boss on the 50th floor, and Selma tells Orin to cut off its claws, since she knows that it won't be a problem for him. Bernard knows that its shell is extremely tough, but Orin activates his original spell Impact to enhance his sword's power 100-fold, and he cuts right through the boss's claw. Selma buffs the others as they work together to defeat the boss, and she tells everyone they can finally go home. But Orin suddenly gets a strange feeling, and the black dragon appears above them. He realizes he's the only one who can move, since everyone froze when they saw the dragon, and he knows they won't survive unless he defeats it. He decides to take it on, and tells the other escorts to protect the newbies, so they surround everyone with a barrier. The dragon breathes fire, and they know that their barrier won't hold, but Orin strengthens it with his impact spell. The flames hit the barrier, and everyone can't believe they're still alive, but Selma knows that Orin saved them, and they watch him as he fights the dragon alone. He activates his impact spell as he attacks it, but it has no effect, and Selma asks him if he needs help, so he tells her not to worry since he has a plan. He dodges the dragon's attacks, but it launches a fireball, so he summons his reflective wall to send it back. He casts status up to double his stats, and Selma thinks it isn't enough to defeat the dragon, but he activates it 5 times. His body starts to glow, and she can't believe he was able to pull it off, since she knows it should be impossible to stack the same buff. He jumps away to dodge the dragon's attack, and she realizes that his magic is on another level, wondering if he has other secret powers. We learn that he has increased his stats by up to 32 times, but it's starting to take a toll on his body, since he casts 30 spells at once. He thinks he needs to end the fight as soon as possible, and he jumps behind the dragon. The dragon swings its tail at him, but he's able to create a platform to avoid it. Everyone wonders if it was made with an original spell, but we learn that he used magical convergence, which is a special ability he was born with. It allows him to gather magic into a single point and materialize it, and we learn that Oliver has the same ability, but he only uses it to attack, while Orin has found better ways to use it. He slashes the dragon's neck, and it crashes to the ground, but Selma realizes he's exhausted, since he's been chaining support magic and adding effects to his weapon. She watches him as he continues to fight the dragon, but she knows she can't do anything to help him, since even the strongest members of the Silver Rabbits couldn't defeat the dragon. In a flashback, we learn that Orin and Oliver were raised in a peaceful village, but a group of bandits destroyed it while they were training outside. They bury everyone's remains, and they're both determined to get stronger so that they can protect what's important to them. We return to the present as the dragon summons bolts of energy to attack Orin, and it manages to hit him, but he immediately recovers, and he's determined to protect everyone at all costs. Selma knows that the dragon is at its strongest when it releases a purple mist, and she wonders how Orin will counter its arrows since they have killed countless adventurers. He shoots a fire bullet, which hits the dragon's head, but he struggles to do any damage. He cuts down the dragon's arrows, and summons a rock wall to protect himself. He realizes that the dragon changed its attack pattern, and an arrow is about to hit him from behind, but he's able to reflect it. Everyone's amazed that he can keep up with the dragon, but Selma knows he's in trouble, since he's about to run out of energy. He recalls how he worked with the hero's party to defeat it, and he isn't sure if he can win alone, but he's determined to do whatever it takes to finish it off. He blasts the dragon with fireballs from all sides, but realizes it's still alive, so he uses his original spell to summon the fireballs again. We learn that his magic becomes stronger every time he repeats it, but the dragon survives the attack, and he recalls how Oliver used his ultimate move to finish it off. He decides to copy it, so he gathers energy with his magical convergence, and slashes the dragon with everything he has. It tries to counter him with its own attack, but he activates his impact spell, which allows him to overpower it. It explodes as the attack reaches it, and everyone thinks the fight is over, but he realizes that it's sacrificed its tail to survive. It continues to attack him, so he jumps away, but realizes that his buffs have worn off. Selma tries to buff him, but her spell doesn't work, and he tells her to stay out of the fight, since her buffs will only throw him off. He increases his stats again, and summons lightning to shoot the dragon down, but it still gets back up, and he starts to wonder if he has what it takes to defeat it. His sword shatters, but he knows that the dragon is also on its last legs, so he casts his destruction spell, which gathers magical energy to create a powerful dark sword. The dragon attacks with its arrows, but he dashes away, and summons his reflective walls to avoid them. He dives toward the dragon, striking it with his full power, and he causes a huge explosion. As the dust settles, everyone realizes he was able to win, and they praise him for saving their lives. The heroes' party reaches the dungeon, but they realize that Orin has already defeated the dragon, and Luna rushes to heal him, but he tells her to clean everything up instead. She notices that he's the only one who's injured, so she realizes he fought the dragon alone, but Derek can't believe it, and he asks Orin to explain what happened. She tells him to accept that he's nothing compared to Orin, so he becomes angry and tries to hit her, but she stops him with her spirit. He realizes he can't move, and Oliver tells them to stop, but we see that he's upset since Orin stole the spotlight. Sophia writes a report about the incident, and she thinks about how amazing Orin is, but she notices that Selma is exhausted. She invites her to take a bath before they go to bed, and as they enjoy their time together, Selma notes that Orin is so powerful that she can't even understand how he fought the dragon. Sophia explains that she understood his techniques, since he taught her the basics of combat, which he used while fighting the dragon, and she notes that she learned a lot from him. The next day, Selma thanks Orin for saving everyone during the expedition, and notes that Vince wants to meet him. They head to the HQ, where Vince invites Orin to join the Silver Rabbits, and notes that he'll make him the lieutenant of their clan. Orin thinks he's too young for the position, but Vince tells him he has what it takes, and Selma looks forward to working with him. He explains that he needs to think about it, so Vince tells him to take his time, but notes that the Adventurers Guild wants to see him. Orin heads to the old man's shop, and tells him he isn't sure if he should join the Silver Rabbits, since he might end up being used and thrown away again. The old man tells him to think about it, and explains that people grow by helping each other, since it helps them make up for their weaknesses. Orin appears before the guildmaster, who knows that he defeated the dragon, but Nell and Derek think he just got lucky, and explain that they weakened the dragon before he fought it. He tells them to be silent, and asks Oliver why they went straight to the 92nd floor, so he explains that they were confident they could go deeper, since their new enchanter is better than him. Orin explains that they shouldn't have done that, because Phillies still isn't used to working with them, but Oliver thinks the enchanter's job is easy, since all they need to do is buff their teammates. Orin becomes upset hearing this, and tells him it's difficult to fulfill the enchanter's role, since they need to look after everyone in the party. We see Selma as she thinks about Orin, and she wonders if he'll join the guild, since he's so powerful that he doesn't need their help. Sophia and the others join her, and they tell her they want to invite Orin to join their guild, so she explains that she also wants to work with him, but she thinks he's so strong that they'll just slow him down. Logan notes that they just need to get stronger, so that he will recognize them as his comrades, and she realizes that Logan is right, so she tells them where to find him. We see Orin as he walks around the town, and he sees Sophia and the others, but he suddenly hides in an alley. He realizes they're about to find him, so he creates platforms and hides on a roof, and he's glad he was able to get away from them. He returns to the old man, who wonders why he avoided them, so he explains that he doesn't want them to be sad, since he has decided not to join the Silver Rabbits. The old man explains that he doesn't have to be alone, since he knows that he enjoyed the moments he spent with them, telling him he'll find a place where he belongs. That evening, Orin stares at the night sky, but Sophia finally finds him, and tells him they're in her favorite spot. She invites him to join the Silver Rabbits, but he asks her what she thinks about the guild, so she tells him it's the place where she belongs, and he finds her answer interesting. The next day, Orin returns to the Silver Rabbits HQ, and tells Vince he has decided to join the guild. Sophia and the others are excited to see him, and he comes out wearing his new uniform, telling them that he looks forward to working with them again. In a flashback, we see Oliver as he defeats Orin in training, and the observers think that he'll be the one who will make their wish come true, but he wonders why Orin was holding back, saying he used to be better. So Orin tells Oliver that he has just become stronger than him, calling him a genius, but Oliver refuses to believe him, and promises to make him take him seriously, but we learn that Orin went easy because he didn't want to end up killing him. His friend Xian appears, so he thinks he looked bad losing, but she tells him she knows how strong he really is. He mentions how he wasn't strong enough to endure the way everyone looked at him, but now Oliver is carrying that burden, so he wants to be able to help him. Xian also wants to stand by his side, and she promises to catch up to him, but the memory glitches as she mentions what they will become. We see the guildmaster visiting his superior, the Grand Master, reporting that one of his adventurers in the South Dungeon soloed the Black Dragon. The Grand Master is surprised hearing this, wondering who would be crazy enough to do that, so the Guild Master explains it was because of an emergency. The Grand Master wonders if it was Oliver, but he's shocked when he learns that it was Oren. He asks if Oren has been acting differently lately, but the Guild Master tells him he's been the same, so the Grand Master realizes he hasn't returned to his original state, but still found a way to gain enough power to defeat the Black Dragon, and he tells the Guild Master to report right away if anything changes with Oren. Meanwhile in the east, we see a group killing other top adventurers, and it seems Xion is guiding them. She calls out a person hiding, so they come out, and she recognizes him as a messenger. He tells them that a person strong enough to solo the Black Dragon has appeared in the south, so they have been ordered to make contact to see if they can bring him to their side. The man notes that it's likely that the person has already sided with the church, so the group thinks they will need to end up killing him. Xion thinks the person can't be Oliver since there's a lack of information, but she can't believe there's someone in the south who might be the same as her. She thinks she needs to handle it because she doesn't want the south to fall like the west did, and she promises to carry on the will of the one she loved the most. But we learn that she thinks Oren is dead, as we see the day she received a letter telling her about his end. But she vows to continue fighting, and swears to kill all the people in the church who she believes were the ones who drove Oren to his death. At the Silver Rabbit HQ, Vince glazes Oren to everyone about how strong he is, and tells them about his decision to make him the lieutenant, taking the place of Albert who died against the Black Dragon. The decision requires the approval of the existing lieutenants, but before they vote, one of them asks Oren if he's prepared to offer his life for the clan. The man notes that as a lieutenant, his decisions will change the lives of their members, and they must do everything they can to protect them. Oren understands what he means, but thinks back to a different vow that he swore he would never break, so he ends up saying that he isn't prepared to offer his life for the clan. The lieutenants think he's unfit for the position, wondering why he's even there, but Oren mentions his resolve is to protect those he cares about. He swears to protect all his comrades, mentioning the vow he took when he became an adventurer, which was to become strong enough to protect the ones he cares about no matter what. So the man realizes that while he isn't prepared to offer his life for the clan, he's prepared to do it for the members, and he ends up being accepted as the new lieutenant. After that, Selma can't believe he caused such a scene, but she's glad it all worked out. A girl named Estella from the management division asks for his help with teaching a new party, but he wonders if he will have enough time. Selma mentions he should have more than when he was with the heroes party, since their guild limits the amount of time they go into the dungeon, saying that the most they do is only 3 days at a time, so he ends up agreeing. After that, Oren goes to meet his new squad, Unit 1, who are the guild's strongest group. They remind him that they met in the previous raid, but they reintroduce themselves. There's Rain the Mage, who tells him he can treat her like a big sister since she's the oldest, Lucera the Healer, and Wilkes the Defender. Wilkes wonders how Oren was able to defeat the Black Dragon, but he hesitates, so Selma tells him he doesn't need to force himself to answer, but he thinks he should tell them since they're now a team, so he tells them about his original skills. The first is Impact, which is able to raise the effects of equipment or magic up to 100 times, and the second spell can boost the effects of support magic multiple times, mentioning how he went up to 32 times against the dragon. Lucera thinks he's overpowered, but he notes that he can only use it on himself, and it also causes an extreme level of stress on his body. Selma suggests going to the dungeon so they can work on their teamwork, but Oren mentions how his sword was destroyed against the dragon. Rain thinks it will take days for him to get a new one, but he notes that it's not a big deal, since his old sword was just off the shelf, and they can't believe he didn't have a custom sword, so he mentions how he would just strengthen and sharpen his sword using his magic, but Rain insists on getting him something better, since he's now a part of the Silver Rabbits. They go to a blacksmith named Aaron, who's also shocked to learn that the Dragon Slayer used such a crappy sword. He mentions how he doesn't care about it, but since he's now a part of the Silver Rabbits Unit 1, he should have a sword that's worthy of his position. Aaron is happy to make him one, but mentions that he's currently out of the high-level material that would be needed, but Aaron tells him it isn't a problem, and suddenly takes out all the materials that he has. They can't believe how amazing it all is, but Lucera is suddenly shocked as she sees a black scale. Aaron remembers how they have trauma from losing against the Black Dragon, so he tries to apologize, but Rain tells him he's amazing and suggests that he make his sword from it. They have a meeting where Selma suggests practicing their teamwork on floor 86, but Oren is determined to take them to the 94th floor so that they can match the Heroes Party's record. When they get to floor 86, Selma notes that their goal is to hunt noxious sheep, but she knows that there are powerful earth dragons that roam the area. She tells everyone to stick to their roles, while Oren stays at the front as their attacker, but they wonder if he even needs their help. He tells them he's part of the party, so they can order him around, but they suddenly see a fireball flying at them. He blocks it with his barrier, and he knows they were attacked by an earth dragon, but he can't find where it's hiding. Lucera activates her special ability, which allows her to follow traces of magic, and she sees the dragon hiding behind a bush. She casts her flash spell, which causes it to come out of hiding, and it launches fireballs as it rushes toward them, but Wilkes cuts them down. Rain finishes it off with her explosion magic, and Oren is impressed by their teamwork, realizing they're all talented adventurers. He thinks they're the ideal party thanks to Selma's leadership, but she wonders why he's staring at her, so he tells her she's amazing, which causes her to blush. 2 other dragons appear, and she thinks it's the perfect chance to practice their teamwork, so Oren charges in with Wilkes. But he senses something behind them, so he attacks it with his rock arrow. They realize it's a hiding turtle, but he thinks they're in trouble since they're surrounded by monsters. Selma tells the girls to take care of the turtle so that the boys can focus on the dragons, which start to launch fireballs. Wilkes slices through them, and she uses her telepathy to tell Oren to attack from the side, so he runs to the dragon's blind spot. He activates his buffs and gets in position, so she tells him to wait until they charge at Wilkes, who jumps away as he sees them approaching. Oren realizes they're wide open, so he launches his attack and activates his impact spell to cut them in half. He thanks Wilkes for luring them into position, and they watch the girls as they cast their elemental spells to defeat the turtle. They continue their journey, and Oren tells everyone he's glad to work with them, but they're amazed by his impact spell, since they've never seen anyone cut through 2 dragons in one move. Selma wonders if they'll survive on the 92nd floor, and he's confident that they can do it, telling them they can defeat the black dragon without him, since they're all capable adventurers. They thank him for praising them, and reveal that they've been working hard recently, which makes him think it's because they lost Albert. Selma recalls how powerful the black dragon is, and notes that she doesn't want to lose anyone in her party, so he promises to protect them no matter what happens. After they finish their quest, they return to the surface, and Oren notes that he needs to meet the management division, but he doesn't know where it is. Selma decides to go with him, since she also needs to report the mission's success, and she tells him they should meet the next day. That evening, Oren drinks with his party, and Selma officially welcomes him, but Rain thinks they need to do their best so that he won't regret joining them. He explains that he had fun in the dungeon, so he wants to continue working with them, and they're all glad he's easy to get along with, since they all thought he had an attitude. Rain thinks Selma likes him, so she tells them it isn't true, and explains that she just wanted him to feel comfortable with them. He's glad she's their leader, and thinks about how he doesn't regret his decision to join the clan, since he now has some good companions. Selma gets drunk, and suddenly starts to flirt with him, telling him she wants to be with him. He asks Rain to help him, but she clings to him, and they start to fight over him, so Lucera and Wilkes think he's extremely popular. He gets turned on, but he doesn't want to do anything with them, so he uses his magic to put them to sleep. We see Sophia waiting for her sister to return home, and she hears someone knock at the door, so she wonders if it's Selma. But she realizes it's Oren, so she becomes flustered, wondering if he has come to meet her in the middle of the night. She opens the door, but she's surprised to see him carrying her sister, and she wonders if they're in a relationship. He explains that he just carried her home since she's drunk, but Sophia knows that it has never happened to her sister before, so she thinks Selma must have had a lot of fun. She tells Selma to wake up and stop bothering him, and Selma realizes she's angry, so she explains she had too much to drink at their party. She apologizes for her actions, and Sophia thinks she decided to have fun since she's been under a lot of stress lately. So she decides to forgive her, but tells her not to cause trouble for others. Selma realizes she's like an angel, but notices that she's been smiling a lot lately, and she thinks it's because of Oren. As Selma takes a shower, she realizes she feels better thanks to Oren, but she thinks she embarrassed herself by getting drunk. She thinks she needs to be careful so that her sister won't misunderstand her relationship with him, since she knows that Sophia likes him, but she wonders why she keeps thinking about him. She recalls how she flirted with him and realizes she has feelings for him, which makes it hard for her to focus on her job. The next day, Selma and Oren visit Estella and they notice her desk is a mess, but she notes that it's cleaner than usual. They meet a girl named Carla who looks after the new adventurers, and she knows that Oren will train Group 10, but she wonders if he has read their files. He reveals that he went through them before he joined the clan, and Estella notes that she's worried about the kids, but she's glad he's the one who will look after them. He wonders how he should train them, but she tells him he's in charge of everything, and notes that he should just teach them what he knows. Selma tells her to give him a goal, so she tells him to make them stronger so that they can take on the middle floors after 6 months. He knows it will be difficult, but she explains that she has high expectations for them since they grew a lot during the teaching expedition. After that, Selma asks Oren if he already knows about her sister's background, so he reveals that he read about it when he checked her file. Selma reveals that Sophia's mother was a maid in their house, who died after giving birth to her, so their family adopted her, but she wasn't treated well since she was the child of a mistress. Selma tried to help her, but things got worse after she left, and when she returned home for the first time, she asked Sophia to come with her. She wants Sophia to become a successful adventurer and tells Oren to take care of her, so he promises to do his best to train her. Oren meets with Group 10, and they're all excited to become his students again because they know how powerful he is, but he tells them he still needs to get stronger. Sophia reminds him that he crushed the Black Dragon, but he knows that it was a close fight, and he tells them they also need to defeat it in the future. He knows they still aren't strong enough to do it, but he tells them they're all talented, so he thinks they'll be able to defeat the dragon if they put in the effort. He tells them to be flexible while he's teaching them, but he admits that he doesn't know everything, so they shouldn't think he's always right. He wonders why they decided to become adventurers, and Sophia explains that she wants to be just like her sister. She notes that she wants to decide what to do with her life, but explains that she still hasn't decided what to focus on, so she became an adventurer to find her calling. Logan reveals that he wants to be an adventurer to make money, and explains that he grew up in a poor village, where the villagers barely had enough food to survive. They thought he wouldn't have a bright future if he stayed with them, so they gathered their money to send him there, and he wants to become a successful adventurer so that he can pay them back. He explains that he always thought he was as powerful as a high-ranked adventurer, but realized he was weak when he saw Oren fight the dragon, so he wants to get stronger. Carol notes that she doesn't know why she became an adventurer, but mentions that she wants to kill monsters to make everyone happy, but the others think her answer is strange. Oren knows that she has a deep darkness inside her, so he just thanks her for answering his question, and tells everyone not to forget why they became adventurers. Sophia wonders if he also has a dream, so he notes that he wants to get stronger so that he can protect everything important to him. They head to the dungeon, where Carol fights a pack of wolves, and she seems to be doing well, but Oren thinks her fighting style is dangerous. He knows that a defender should draw attention so that the attacker can finish the job, but her style is so reckless that she could end up getting killed. A wolf charges at her from behind, and he thinks she needs help, so he protects her with his reflective wall and cuts the wolf down. He tells her to watch her surroundings while she's fighting, but she explains that she made sure she was defenseless so that the wolf would attack her from behind. He doesn't understand what she means, and asks her why she didn't dodge, so she realizes that he doesn't know about her special ability. She cuts herself, but her wound instantly regenerates, and she reveals that she can't die no matter how badly she gets injured, so he doesn't need to worry about her. He knows that she was held captive by a criminal organization for years, and they performed experiments on her, since they wanted to revive the most powerful monster known as the Evil God. Albert destroyed one of their bases 2 years ago, and he found her in a dungeon, but she was mentally unstable, so she had to undergo treatment. She decided to become an adventurer after she recovered, but she was devastated by Albert's death, so Oren isn't sure how he should teach her. He tells her to look at her friends, and she wonders why they aren't smiling, so he explains that it's because she got hurt. He explains that they're all worried about her whenever she feels pain, and she starts to cry, so he realizes that she's scared to see people not smiling, since the criminals who experimented on her never smiled at her. She promises to be careful, and begs Oren not to hit her, but he hugs her instead. They begin their training, where Oren gets Carol to practice her dodging, while Logan learns how to wield a spear. Oren tells him it's a better weapon for him, since it allows him to keep his distance from his opponents, but he notes that Wilkes is the spear expert, so Logan should learn from him. Sophia trains how to use 2 magic circles at once, and she seems to be doing well, but she panics when there are 2 targets she needs to hit. She reaches out her hand, but a mysterious energy hits one of the targets, and she has no idea how she did it. He explains that it must be a special ability, but she isn't sure of it, so he tells her to take her time and learn more about it. After that, Carol and Sophia discuss how brutal their training was, but Carla and Estella join them and tell them they've grown up. Sophia isn't confident in her body, since she still hasn't developed her assets, but Carol tells her they're still growing. They continue their training, and Logan spars with Wilkes, who tells him he's improving. Oren tells his students they passed the first stage, since they defeated the 20th floor boss without help, and they're happy to hear it, but he tells them they need to aim higher. Oren returns to the blacksmith, who gives him his new sword. Everyone thinks it's perfect, and he swears to use it to protect the people important to him. Oren uses his sword to cut through the Skeleton King, and his friends are happy that they finally cleared the 91st floor. Selma asks him how the sword is, so he notes that Oren did an excellent job, since it fits his hand perfectly, and he decides to call it the Black Rabbit. They return to the surface, where Selma asks Oren if he's free the next day, but he explains that he already promised to take his students to the dungeon. She can't believe he's going back to the dungeon without resting, so he explains that he won't be fighting, since he's just escorting his students, and he thinks they can clear floor 29 without his help. He notes that all of them have improved, and she's glad to hear it, since it means Sophia will become a full-fledged adventurer soon. That evening, Oren visits the old man, who tells him that the criminal organization Amontheth has sent killers to the dungeon to prevent the adventurers from clearing it. The old man notes that they've already killed high-ranked adventurers, and Oren thinks the guild doesn't know about them since they're keeping a low profile. But he wonders why they don't want the adventurers to clear the dungeon and asks the old man to make something for him. We see that Rain has Albert's uniform, and she tells him to watch over her, since she'll fight the Black Dragon in 3 days. Oren repairs Wilkes' spear, and Wilkes notes that he's been training hard to defeat the dragon, since he wasn't strong enough to protect Albert last time he faced it. Lucera has also been working hard, and she still isn't sure if she's strong enough to defeat the dragon, but she's determined to do her best so that her friends will survive the fight. Sophia tells her sister she doesn't want her to fight the dragon, since she knows that Oren struggled to defeat it, so she's worried that Selma might die. She shares her courage with her, and tells her she believes in her, so Selma promises to return alive. The kids clear floor 29, and Oren tells them they're about to start their careers as real adventurers, so they will no longer be considered newbies. Estella receives their application to head to floor 30, and tells them she'll send an adventurer from Unit 2 to serve as an observer, since she wants to see if they can clear the floor without help. She notes that they will go there after 2 days, but they realize it's the same date that Unit 1 will fight the Black Dragon, and she explains that she can't change it because of the observer's schedule. Oren considers putting off the trip to floor 92, but Sophia is against it, since she knows that Unit 1 always wanted to defeat the dragon. The kids tell him they'll be fine without him, and note that they'll never become full-fledged adventurers if they keep relying on him, so he decides to listen to them and allows them to go without him, but notes that they must show him their plan to clear floor 30. After that, the kids show Oren their plan, and he thinks it might work, but tells them to be flexible since something unexpected might happen. He gives them lucky charms, and tells them not to let their guard down, so that they can all return home safely. The kids head to the dungeon, and Logan hears footsteps ahead, so he warns his friends that there are 3 monsters, but there are 4 goblins that appear, and he apologizes for getting the number wrong, but Sophia tells him it's okay, and they destroy the goblins with their spells. The observer can't believe they're newbies, since the goblins were no match for them, and they tell him it's because they have a good teacher. Unit 1 is on the 92nd floor, where the Black Dragon rushes at them, so Selma buffs everyone as they prepare for battle. It attacks them with its tail, but Wilkes deflects it and creates an opening for Oren to cut it off. The kids also reach the boss room on floor 30, but they see another party, and Logan thinks they need to talk to them since they want to fight the boss themselves. He tells them they're from the Silver Rabbits, and the adventurers know that the Dragon Slayer is their guildmate, so they ask Logan about him. He refuses to say anything, but Shion tells her friend Zuriel to find out the truth, so he reads Logan's mind. He notes that the Dragon Slayer is the kid's teacher and that they can use them to lure him out, so the observer realizes they're dangerous. But they immediately cut his head off, so the kids run for their lives. One of the adventurers blocks the exits and notes that he can handle the kids himself, while the others talk about how they should kill the Dragon Slayer. Carol tells her friends to escape, and she rushes forward, but the man sends her flying. He's impressed that she jumped away to lessen the impact, but knows that she can no longer move, and Shion promises not to hurt the kids if they surrender. We return to Selma, as she tells Oren to cut off the dragon's wing, but he stops as his necklace suddenly starts to glow. He realizes the kids are in trouble, and reveals that the lucky charms he gave them are actually warning devices, so Selma becomes worried. He thinks they must defeat the dragon as soon as possible, and he knows it's already injured, but it will still take time to finish it off. It releases its purple mist, which heals all of its injuries, and everyone's surprised that it can do that, since it's never used that move before. Oren thinks they're in the worst possible situation, since the dragon is back to full strength, and they need to hurry to save the kids. Sophia panics as she looks at Carol, but Logan snaps her out of it, reminding her that Carol can regenerate, and that their first job as adventurers is making it back alive. They prepare to fight the man Giba, so Logan uses his buffs, and Sophia attacks with a thunder arrow, but Giba cuts right through it. He comes after them, but Logan activates a trap, telling Giba he was easy to predict. Logan attacks with his spear, but Giba catches it and he easily breaks free, slamming Logan to the ground. He prepares to finish Logan off, and Sophia wonders what she should do. Giba swings his sword, but he's suddenly stopped as Sophia uses her mysterious power. She realizes it's her special ability, and she sends Giba crashing into the wall. She quickly goes to heal Logan, but Giba gets back up, so Logan tells her that they need to hit him with everything they have. Meanwhile, the fight against the Black Dragon continues, and Oren knows he can't hold back, so he enhances his sword, charging at it head-on, and he uses his new Divine Flash skill. Selma can't believe how strong his attack is, and he manages to cut down the dragon, but the purple mist regenerates it once again, and it gets back up. Oren thinks he needs to wipe it out completely in a single hit so that it can't regenerate, but it attacks with its tail, so Selma quickly puts up a barrier, but she's still blown away. The dragon prepares to use its breath, but Oren transforms his sword into a spear, stabbing it in the head, and he's able to completely destroy it. We see Logan being knocked down, and he tells Sophia to run, but she's too scared to even move. Shion tells Giba to finish her off, since her special ability might become a problem in the future, so he prepares to cut her down. Sophia begs for someone to save her, and Oren makes it there just in time, blowing Giba away. He apologizes for being late, telling her she did well, and he notes that he will handle the rest. Shion notices that he seems angry, but he's more angry at himself, since he failed his promise to protect them. He asks Shion why they targeted the kids, so she notes that they were using them as bait to get to him. Zuriel thinks it will be easy to take his head since it's 3-on-1, but he suddenly uses his magic and catches 2 of them, increasing their weight by 100 times, and he finishes them off with his Earth Shock. He charges at Shion next, but he's surprised that she can block his attack, and she blows him back with her Blizzard magic. She follows it up with a Lightning Strike, and the kids can't believe Oren is struggling. Oren wonders how Shion is able to cast special rank magic so quickly, and she thinks he's also pretty strong himself. She mentions wanting to recruit him, but he refuses to be involved with murderers, and she starts to think that he reminds her of someone she used to know. Oren wonders why she's killing other adventurers, so she mentions something about the original being defeated and the replica falling into enemy hands, so buying time is their only option. Oren doesn't understand what she's saying, but tells her she should give up. She suddenly loses it, saying that people like him are the ones bringing the world closer to destruction, and she starts attacking him again. Oren can't believe how many explosion spells she can use at the same time, and Shion thinks it's impossible for him to have survived, but we see that he turned his sword into a shield. He suddenly transforms it into a whip and grabs her, telling her he was waiting for her to let her guard down, but her hood falls off, and he suddenly sees a flashback of her. Shion also starts to wonder if he's Oren, and she finally realizes that she was manipulated into thinking he was dead. She tells him to let her go since she can't fight him, but he wonders why she's talking to him like they know each other. He isn't sure what's going on, but his sword returns to normal as his magic runs out. He sees that Shion's friends are starting to get back up, but Selma and the others also arrive, so Shion decides to retreat, telling Oren that she hopes they don't need to kill each other the next time they meet. Selma is glad that Sophia is okay, and they all thank Oren for saving them. Logan wonders if he knew Shion, but he isn't sure and is still confused about what he remembered. We see Shion thinking about how Oren is alive, but she can't believe they met as enemies, and she swears to get revenge on the woman who took him away from her, promising to make her regret she was ever born. After that, Oren meets up with Sophia and the others, mentioning that after the incident, they should see how weak they really are, including himself. Carol thinks he was incredible, since they only survived because of him, but he notes that if the fight had continued, everyone would have died, including Selma and the others, so he thinks he also needs to get stronger, since he doesn't want to have any regrets. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.